What's up, everyone? Welcome to all the new subscribers of the last few days. I know there's a bunch of Led Zeppelin fans out there. People have asked me how the Led Zeppelin video is up, and I have no idea. So I can't speak to it. I took a chance, I put it up there, and it's still up. So not sure what to say about it. But I spent, Aaron's here actually moderating, and this is hilarious because I called him as I was uploading it and said that I mistakenly, I misread the thing because they have these YouTube policies that tells you whether you can use a song or not. And most of the videos that I put up, they tell me I can't use the songs. But I go up there and I look and see if people have done lyric videos or if they're covers of songs or anything. And if there is, I think, okay, it's probably okay to put the thing up. You know, that's when I decided to make a video. So with Zeppelin, though, I just misread it completely. And there's no explanation for why it's up there still. So I'm very psyched. Welcome to everybody new that subscribed since then. And I'm going to talk about using sequences in your solos. So a sequence is just a repeated idea. Now, you'll see, bands like Leonard Skinner would play repeated licks, or Jimmy Page would play repeated licks, when you think of licks like that. Those kind of pentatonic licks that you think of that are repeated patterns that kind of build energy in your solo. Those kind of things you'll hear Tom Scholz play or Neil Schon or whoever. The kind of standard rock Eric Clapton licks like that. But I'm talking about using sequences that may be a little more interesting, more complex. I have a little pedal here that will sustain chords. I'll show you some basic ideas of what I mean by sequences. So ideas that repeat over multiple octaves. So let's say I take a, I'll show you a simple thing first. So if I take a, I took a B flat chord here, just a 6/9 chord here. And I'm going to play a line like this. So I played B flat, C, B flat. So I'm going up B flat, and then I resolve down a half step. So I'm going a B flat major, C, B flat to C, back and forth. But the sequence is then up the octave. There it is over 3 octaves. Now, you can do these same things on the piano. You can do them on any instrument. Sequences you can use, and they're really cool for creating longer lines, okay? Now, if we took something like the pentatonic scale, you can do some really cool sequences that are not necessarily stock things that you would see. So I'm going to play like a C minor chord. So
Rick, everybody says the volume is really low. Do you think?
Is it low?
Well, your volume.
My volume.
And we know why that is.
Oh, I know why it is.
Yeah, but maybe if we get a little closer.
Can you guys hear me better now? See if that's better. I'll turn it up just a little bit here. How's that sound?
Better.
Okay, so I'm going to play a chord here. This will be a C minor. I'm playing a C minor 7, C minor 11 chord. And I'm going to use a C minor pentatonic scale, but I'm going to do a sequence like this. So I'm going to skip strings. Let's see. I'm actually using 3 different sequences. Here's the first one. And then I go made up of two different parts, right? This. So I'm skipping a string. And then I do. That's the second one, is using a similar sequence where I'm doing the string skipping again. So here's another sequence. So this sequence goes, and then I do it again. And then I've run out of notes here, then I turn the direction around. So. Okay, let me do it with a chord again so you can hear it. That's tricky. Hold on. Woo, that's tough. One more time, slow. Now, when I do this lick here, this is stuff that guys like Eric Johnson play. So I'm doing a pull off there. And the pull-offs and the slides make it sound like it's cascading or waterfall effect. I think it's playing it really legato like that is hard to do because it takes a lot of left-hand strength. And I'm using hammer-ons on the way up. I did another sequence there. So a sequence doesn't have to be the exact same intervals. It can just be shapes, right? This is a shape, but I do it up the octave. Okay, so that is a repeated 3-note pattern. This could be if I did an E minor chord. Okay, so I'm doing up the octave. But this first pattern is a G major 7th arpeggio. But I start on the F sharp. And I do it up the octave. Oh, that's good. Good. Okay, so there's two sequences there. Okay, so the two sequences are this major 7th arpeggio starting on the 7th. I think that's what it is. That's what I did. So I go F sharp G B D, F sharp G B D, F sharp G B D, F sharp G, and then I turn it around. That's the next pattern. Then I do it again. Okay, so two sequences, but it covers the whole range of the guitar, and it sounds great over. Okay, so that's using just those. The only notes I'm using, well, I use the E in there. Use the E. So it's two 3-octave sequences using the whole range of the guitar. A good thing to do to practice this, though, is to take start out with simple sequences, like playing thirds, a scale in thirds, for example. Let's say I've got just a regular C7. I'm I'm using C11 chord. So I'm just playing the scale in thirds. I'm playing a mixolydian scale. And it is sequenced there. I'm going up, I did C major, B flat major, C major, so here's the scale in thirds. So that scale, you can practice any scales you should be practicing in all intervals. You can do it in 6. So I'm playing it in 6 there. So first note of the scale to the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 note of the scale. Very hard to play. Those are things you need to practice, those kind of sequences. But those things will create, by learning your intervals like that, you can create some really cool sequences. If I play, let's say, so I did, those are all sequences. I did, cool sound. So that I use that 6th idea. Here's the sequence. Now, you know that you can go back, watch the video, and put it at half speed to learn these. You don't have to, you're like, oh man, that's way too fast, I can't learn this, right? These kind of ideas here, I'm going to do a little plug. Beato book. It actually only comes in PDF form, but 461 pages. On sale today, RB911, 20% off. Actually, it's 20% off anything in my store today. I do these sales every time I do a live stream for those of you that are new to the channel because because I want people to have this as a reference resource, the book, because it has a lot of these kind of ideas in it to practice. Talks about the theory so that I don't have to keep going over a lot of the different technical terms if I talk about Lydian triads or add 9 chords or things like that. All that stuff is in there. You can look it up in 2 seconds. Go to the table of contents. What is an add 9 chord? What is a Lydian triad? And you'll hear me use these terms. I don't necessarily go back and reference them because a lot of the people on here that have been following my channel for a long time knows what these are, or they have the book and it explains it. But lines like that, go back and watch it at half speed if that's something that sounds cool to you, that is an interesting sequence. But these sequences can be anything. Usually they come out of practicing, though, what I like to do is I like to only use parts of sequences or take an idea. So if I have that, let's say I have the F7 sus4 chord again. Come on, let's see. There we go. And I use an add 9 chord. I was just talking about that. So that's a sequence. Let me play it a little quieter. So the add 9 chord is the notes F, G, A, C, 1, 2, 3, 5. Then I'm going there, and then there, and then I went here, and then and there's my little end piece. Those don't sound like, people don't play those because they're awkward to finger, but they sound really cool. They're actually easier to finger on piano. That's more like a piano line. Aaron, that's way easier to play that stuff on the piano, right? Yeah. But it sounds killer on the guitar. So that would be an add 9 sequence there, right? So questions.
Do you want to talk about the lesson that we just put up?
Oh yeah. So there's last month we started the Beato Club. The Beato Club is for people that want additional material and support the channel so that we can do kind of what I'm doing here. Do some traveling, bring more produced content here, and so part of it, I just posted a lesson actually. There's lessons on there, there's PDFs, there's additional learning material. And I just posted a lesson, it's lesson 9, and it's on a thing that I did on my Instagram last night. So those of you that, my Instagram is at RickBeato1, and I do these little, minute-long pieces or 30-second pieces or something. They're usually some type of study pieces, or most of them are improvs, but I did a thing on a, which I call a low-grade natural 2 study. So I took an E half diminished chord, and I played a series of, if you watch the video, I took 4 different chord inversions that are from the scale, and then I improvised a line over it, and I explained kind of what I do in it. If you watch the video on Instagram, you just see me play it. But in the Beato Club, I actually will play something and then I explain it after. And I put the thing on Instagram, the playing part, but the explanation is part of the Beato Club. And there's other things too. If you go to my website, you can see it. Or Aaron, did you just put it in there?
Just put it in there, yeah. So somebody asked how you make sure that you keep sounding like you're warming up when or how do you keep these exercises from sounding like you're warming up when how do you actually turn them into solos and stuff like that?
Well, you play them as parts of your solos. That's the thing. It's like you're soloing. These are it's like, when Jimmy Page plays, or if he plays, or Leonard Skinner, right? Or the Allman Brothers. Those are very basic sequences that people have used in soloing all the time. I don't think those sound like warming up, but they use them usually at the high points of their solos, I mean, those would be kind of typical sequences. You'd call them sequences or licks and everything. What I'm doing are much more complex. Much more complex. And you might only use one thing. You might be playing something down here and you want to do, you might want to do something where you're climbing from low on your instrument up to a high range, right? Or if you want to do, if you want to do, you know, whatever, any type of idea that repeats the same intervallic shapes, like a lick like that. What I'm doing there is I'm taking the scale here, like E Dorian, and I'm playing 2 notes per string here, and I'm moving up 1 scale degree. Well, you don't have to do it all in sequence like that. You can go here. Right? You can do things like that. You can use sequences if I have an A minor chord. So I just did. I did using A minor, C major, and E minor. Those are three chords that are out of an A Dorian scale, for example, right? A Dorian would have A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, and G major. Now, how did I know that? Because I have the Beato book memorized. I'm just kidding. No, because those are all the triads that are in a G major scale, and A Dorian comes from G major. And so I know that I can use any of those sounds. That's kind of part of, you know, you play by ear, but you also guide your ear to where you want to go, you know? Yeah, I mean, I play by ear, but my ear can hear a lot of different things. So, practicing these things will allow you to, by knowing these things, will allow you to learn your instrument better and allow you to kind of pre-hear where you're going to go with an idea. So that's kind of the benefit of these repeated exercises, getting used to playing things in multiple octaves. I mean, if I'm playing a C minor chord, that's how we used to tune in the old days. So let's say I take a C minor chord again. So let's say I take a minor add 9. That's a minor add 9 arpeggio. So it's just 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay, but I could play an idea based off that. So I played. So I'm doing a, let me turn that off. That's a cool sequence. That's strong melodically. It's not. So I only used a small piece of it there, but if you practice it over 3 octaves and you want to use it anywhere, so I'm using that idea. I know that minor add 9. I'm kind of playing other scale things around it, but I'm using that as I'm using it as those little fragments in my solo. So that's kind of those are the things that are that you want to take away from that. So, and when you hear these things in solos, you don't necessarily think, oh, that's a pattern. Like you'll hear Eric Johnson if you think of stuff like Like, what is the tune? What is that tune? You know, when he plays all those pentatonic sequences, that's what he's doing. What are they saying? Cliffs of Dover.
Yeah, Cliffs of Dover.
Cliffs of Dover, thank you.
So somebody else asked.
By the way, that is a sequence right there. He's using a B major chord and an A major chord with a pedal tone at top. Those are sequences. That's exactly what that is. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Somebody asked if you can talk a little bit about, or give some advice about playing over more complex changes, and maybe you can tie it in with, you know, using sequences over more complex changes.
Well, sequence once again can be any type of idea. Like it just has to have a similar shape, right? So if I have, let's do doing a 3-6-2-5. So there's an idea. Okay, so there it is. So I played that's even a straighter sequence. So that's two sets of sequences. So this first idea, there's my D7 chord, here's my A minor. And I went to the third of this chord. It's really, I'm thinking like. I used a passing diminisher. So that would be an idea, a way of using a sequence over a much more difficult chord progression. So those are all sequences. So you have, but I'm reversing them. What did I just play? Here's it. I did. So I'm playing that same. What did I do? I did on the D7. What did I do? So A minor 7. There's my D7. G minor 7. C7. So that's how to use it over more complex chords. I mean, that's 3-6-2-5 is tricky there when you have a lot of chords moving like that. But sequences are really, really important for that. They're also cool. You can play sequences if you're playing over just a you know. little trickier one there. That's a little bit more modern sounding.
How do you conceptualize quarter tone bends harmonically? Are they basically the same as chromatic passing notes?
Quarter tone bends. Yeah, essentially. They're you use them like you would use passing tones. I mean, there's so many different ways to play these things. You know, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about how many different ways you can play just a slide, a whole step. Let's say you're playing something like you know, if I play just D to E, right? I can do this. I can you know, sliding into that. This and this sound totally different. Slide, hammer, or three grace notes. Those are completely different sounds, and you know, that's like, you'll hear guys like Wes will do that, or Metheny use a lot of great. It sounds a lot better than go. That doesn't sound as cool, I don't think. Okay, so that's those are just the things that that I picked up from listening to solos and learning them, and that's you know, all those nuances. Those are what really make people that play. You know, you hear Schofield or whatever, and you know, or you hear Clapton. All those little nuances are really what make them different from one another. You know, when you hear Jeff Beck, you know it's Jeff Beck. It's because of the slides, the bends, the things like that. Those kind of, whether they use half-step bends or minor third bends or quarter tone bends or whatever it is, you know. You know, anyway, so that's, I think that answers that.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk about your pedal for a second?
What, the sustain pedal?
Yeah, everybody's just wondering what it is.
So I have two different ones actually that I use. One of them's in the other room. The one I'm using today is the Freeze pedal by Electro Harmonics. And I also have a sustain pedal that, which actually is a lot more complex. I would get it here. I use that one. I basically go between the two. This one happened to be sitting right in here when I started this, but the other one, I'm trying to think of the name of it. Why can't I think of the name? It looks like a piano sustain pedal. It's really heavy duty, and you can layer a lot of sounds on it. But this Freeze pedal is actually based off of the Electro Harmonics Hog. They make the Hog 2 now, which is essentially like a synthesizer pedal. It's got I'm using the latch mode here, which I like to use it for these things because it'll sustain a chord that you can play over. You kind of have to learn how to hit the notes evenly before you, before you. So I didn't quite hit it. I didn't quite hit it even. Let's try this one. That's a lot better that time. It swells up a little bit. You kind of have to know. You have to adjust it. But the Hog pedal, which is cool, this is just one part of it. This Freeze pedal, and the Hog pedal is a bigger Electro Harmonics pedal, and that has different sliders. It's kind of like the Pog, and you can actually shape the chords even more and add octaves. You can add a lower octave, and it sounds huge. I'll use that, and the next time I do a live stream, I'll bring the Hog in and do that. That's got an expression pedal, so you can do these sustains, or you can go. You'll see Kurt Rosenwinkel will use those a lot. He uses the Hog and use the expression pedal, and he'll play a chord and he'll sustain it, then he'll do another chord and sustain it, and he'll solo over those. It's really cool for that. You can accompany yourself with it, and you can create a lot of noise. It's actually cool because you can create a lot of harmonic movement with it, with that particular one, and you can play bigger chords. So,
how do you get into jazz guitar if you're a blues guitarist?
I would say you start by listening to blues guitarists that have jazz lick, guys like Robin Ford or Larry Carlton, people like that, that will play blues, but yet will use on the 4 chord leading into the 4 chord. They use something like the diminished scale, the half whole diminished scale. You see, Robin Ford will do that. If you're doing a blues in C, let's say a jazz blues is different than a rock blues. A rock blues, so you got the 1 chord, and there's your 4 chord, right, in the 5th bar. But in jazz, a lot of times you'll go. So you have more chord changes. So you go to the 4 chord in the 2nd bar, right? So if I got. So I'm thinking like, if I got C7 chord, so I did, there's my 4 chord. So I tried to play something simple so it'd be obvious. And there's my F7 chord then. And I used a passive diminished 7th chord there. So there I used a altered idea to go into the 4 chord. So it's just to add the jazz and rock and jazz blues and rock blues are only different in that you add a few chords in jazz. You add some extra chords. You don't have to add them everywhere. You don't have to be playing, like a Charlie Parker blues or anything like that. You can just add in a few little things like Robin Ford. He's a great example of it. There's some really cool videos. He always talks about going to the half whole diminished in the 4th bar leading into the 5th bar, and so he'll, if he's playing a C7 chord, there's your F7 chord there, but I did, so I did that down to set flat 9. So I'm adding in these little chords there, but this first thing I played 4 bars of C9, right? that. Just you set up vamps, record yourself, get a looper pedal, play that and solo over it. Or there's obviously a lot of backing tracks and things like that that you can use those little extra things, and then you kind of go from playing blues, adding those chords in, then learn some standards. You start with some simple ones, All the Things You Are, or Blue Bossa, or Solar, or Tune Up, Miles Davis tune, that are just simple kind of 2-5-1 tunes, and you learn how to play over those kind of progressions. Beato book, RB 911 today, 20% off everything. Actually, I've got my mugs and everything in there, t-shirts, you name it. Any more questions there, Aaron?
Was Jimmy Page using sequences when he was playing triplets?
Yes. Yeah, that lick there in Whole Lotta Love. That's total sequence. I can't do that next bend, I'll break my string. But I love this. It's so great. I love that. That's a great part of that pattern. Because you got that, if you're on an E chord, this, you can bend from the 5th up to the flat 7. It's really cool. I can't do it on this guitar because the strings are too heavy. But that right there, that part of the blues goes.
Would you say Guthrie Govan uses a lot of sequences in his
all the time.
improvs?
All the time. So many, I mean, man, he's, yeah, he uses sequences all over the place. All over the place. Anytime you have these, a lot of the fast lines like that are sequences. Frankham, guys like that, they use a lot of sequences. I mean, it's just part of, people that play, most people that have really fast technique play a lot of sequential lines like that.
Could you say a few things about how you can practice using the freeze pedal?
What I do, I use it for practicing scales and stuff like that. I think I suggest it for that. I don't necessarily use it. I use it just to jam off of for these. It's great. But it's good if you're, let's say there's a scale that you want to learn and you're, let's say you want to learn, you want to work on a, I don't know, the Dorian flat 2 scale. So I'll set up a chord like this, right? That's great for that, right? Because you can practice it, you can play the chord, use it. And you can it just keeps holding it forever. That's a hard lick. That's when I practice stuff like that. Ooh, that's that's what I like the freeze pedal for, is to play, is to practice things like that and have that backing chord over it because it sounds cool and it makes you inspired to play. I think it's, I tell everybody to get this one or the other one that I have. They're really, really killer. for practice, and I highly recommend them. It's always good. You know what I used to do, honestly? I used to have a little synth with a pad. I used to do this in my live streams, and I would play a chord, and I'd hold the sustain pedal on the chord, and I'd play over it. People would always say, "Man, how are you getting that chord to sustain?" And they couldn't see it because the keyboard was just out of sight of the camera here. And I'd do that, and I'd be holding my foot down, and then when I was done playing, I just lift my foot off, and the sound would stop, and everybody was like, "Man, where's that coming from?" Anyways, Aaron.
Yeah. So somebody says use drone chords a lot versus vamps. Is there any particular reason?
I have a looper pedal here, but it's really this particular one I think is really finicky. The one that I have, I've got a couple looper pedals, and I think that for the live stream they're just a little finicky because it's hard to get. I don't use them very often, honestly, so I'm just not used to playing with them. I mean, a lot of people will play with them live and everything. I mean, I'm not out gigging and playing with looper pedals, and honestly, we don't use looper pedals much in the studio, so the only time I do it is when I'm doing a live stream like this, so that's the only reason why.
What kind of guitar is this?
This is a Gretsch called a Steamliner, I think. Steamliner. I actually traded, so I had this Eastman guitar, hollow body guitar, and I bought it not realizing that it didn't have it had no fret markers on it, and I used it in one video, and everybody said, "Man," and of course it makes sense, nobody could tell where I was playing anything. So then I thought, oh, I can't even use this thing. So I went and traded it towards this, and paid an extra $100 or so last week, and I got this. And this is great, because this is the exact opposite. It's not an expensive guitar, but it's got huge fret markers on it, so it's just the opposite. But I really like it. I mean, for it's a Chinese-made guitar. It's got a Bigsby on it. Works great. Stays in tune. I've only been playing it for 2 days now, but I really like it. It's actually really easy to play, and I think it's a cool guitar. They're about $800, something like that, maybe even less. But for it's a totally acceptable jazz guitar, I think. And I think it'll do well. It's easy to see, right? It's easy to see the fret markers on it, I think. It's nice too, it's got the first fret there, but the things are so big, nobody's ever saying, "Oh, where are you playing this stuff?" So.
Also, there's a bit of an argument going on in the chat.
Okay.
And I think you should give your opinion on this.
Okay.
Somebody's saying that that teaching music like this, all theoretical, that it makes, if you teach kids music like this, like it's math or a puzzle, it's gonna make it sound dull. And somebody else says that it just enriches the possibilities.
The only people that sound dull are people that are dull. That's all I have to say. If you have no imagination, it's ultimately what you do with it. The thing is that most people that are great players know exactly what they're playing. So your argument is you shouldn't know anything because you're going to be better? Well, that doesn't make any sense. That's kind of a dumb argument. No offense. But there's never anything, let's see. So I should really only know one scale and one pattern because I'm going to be more creative. I'm going to only use 4 words to write a story. Less words. I don't need to know many words to write. No. Music is a very complex thing, or emotions are complex. To kind of, if you think about just B.B. King, who plays a couple blues scales, but yet there are so many nuances in what he plays, right? But then you look at Guthrie Govan, and there's a lot of nuances that he plays, a lot of things, and he plays over these really complex chord progressions, and it's, you know, and they're both different, but, Alan Holdsworth, Pat Metheny, John McLaughlin, John Schofield, it's like, where do you want to stop? Do you want to stop at, do you want to stop at Eric Clapton, or do you want to keep going, press the gas, go a little further down the road? Maybe go to Jeff Beck, maybe go on to, to some of the fusion players, to Robin Ford and Larry Carlton. Is Larry Carlton boring? Is his Kid Charlemagne solo boring? No, it's amazing. Because he plays licks like this over B flat 7. Now, yeah, that's amazing. You know why he got called for the gig? Because he doesn't just play simple ideas. He was the guy that could play jazz licks over with a rock tone over really complex changes that Fagan and Becker had written. So he was the guy in LA at the time. There's a #1 session call. He talks about it. Why, you can look up videos about it, because he had a lot of knowledge that other people didn't have, and he has a wider palette. So always go, you'll sound dull. No. You only sound dull if you have dull ideas. But I mean, if you want to sound dull, I won't stop you. Just kidding. Actually, I'm not kidding. It's a free country. You can sound dull. Okay, so one last time, Beato book on sale. Everything in my store is on sale, 20% off. RB911. Welcome once again to all of you new subscribers. It's great having you here. I've got 530 videos that you can check out, but I'm putting out new ones almost every day, so I've got some cool stuff coming up. I think that you'll find interesting. So thanks for watching, and leave your questions if you have any in the comment section. I'll try and get to them. And Aaron's going to shut this off right now. Otherwise, I'll just sit here, keep talking.